Welcome back to DevOps Genius Zone. Here's something most engineers don't realize about Jenkins Pipeline as code. The single habit that separates a senior engineer from a junior one on this exact topic is not a tool, it's a mental model, and once you see it, you cannot unsee it. I've watched engineers with years of experience get passed over for promotions because they never picked this up, and I've watched engineers barely a year into their career leapfrog them because they did. Stick around, because by the end of this video you'll have it too, and you'll be able to talk about Jenkins Pipeline as code in an interview the way a senior engineer does. Today, we are covering Jenkins Pipeline as code. This one is for anyone working in DevOps or trying to break into the field, because this is one you cannot afford to miss. Whether you're a junior engineer trying to level up, a sysadmin transitioning into DevOps, or a senior engineer brushing up before interviews, this video is built for you. The US job market for DevOps engineers is stronger than ever, and companies are specifically looking for engineers who understand Jenkins Pipeline as code deeply, not just on the surface. In 2025, DevOps roles in the US command salaries between $130,000 and $190,000, and that number keeps climbing for engineers who can demonstrate real depth. Jenkins Pipeline as code shows up constantly in technical interviews, and recruiters are literally filtering resumes for these exact keywords. It's not just about passing an interview, either. Once you're in the role, Jenkins Pipeline as code is one of those areas where depth of understanding directly shows up in your day-to-day work. When production has an issue at 2 a.m., the engineer who deeply understands Jenkins Pipeline as code is the one who can calmly work through it instead of guessing. That reputation follows you. It's how junior engineers get trusted with bigger systems, and how mid-level engineers get considered for senior roles. Companies promote people who reduce risk, not people who just keep things running by luck. I also want to be honest with you about something. A lot of engineers learn Jenkins Pipeline as code just deeply enough to pass a certification exam, and then they stop. That's a mistake. The certification gets you in the door. What keeps you in the room during a real incident, or during a system design conversation, is the deeper understanding we're building today. So stick with me through this whole video, because the parts that feel slightly less exciting, like the mistakes section and the hands-on walkthrough, are usually the parts that make the biggest difference in interviews and in production. Here's what we're covering today: the core mental model behind Jenkins Pipeline as code, how to get started the right way, the hands-on walkthrough, the mistakes that quietly cost engineers interviews and incidents, and how Jenkins Pipeline as code ties into security, cost, and your career. Let's get into it. Here is the foundational concept you need to understand about Jenkins Pipeline as code: desired state management. You define what you want, and the system figures out how to get there. This reconciliation loop runs continuously, comparing actual state with desired state and correcting drift automatically. Think of it like a thermostat instead of a space heater. You declare the temperature you want, and the system keeps nudging reality toward that state on its own, over and over, without you having to babysit it. This matters because production systems are never static. Nodes fail, dependencies update, traffic spikes, and configurations drift because someone made a manual change under pressure. A system built around one-time imperative commands can't keep up with that kind of constant change. A system built around continuous reconciliation can. That's the real reason Jenkins Pipeline as code exists, and it's the reason so many modern tools are built around this same declarative pattern, from infrastructure as code to Kubernetes itself. I want to spend a moment on why. This mental shift is harder than it sounds. Most engineers start their careers thinking imperatively: do this, then do that, then check if it worked. Jenkins Pipeline as code asks you to think differently, describe the end state you want, trust the system to get you there, and design your monitoring around detecting when reality drifts from that description. It feels backwards at first. But once it clicks, you stop firefighting one-off problems and start designing systems that recover from entire categories of problems automatically. Here's a question interviewers love to ask around Jenkins Pipeline as code, and it's a great test of whether you actually understand this mental shift or just memorized commands. Walk me through what happens if this configuration and the live environment disagree. A junior answer describes manually checking and fixing things. A senior answer describes the reconciliation loop detecting the drift, deciding whether to autocorrect or alert based on how it's configured, and explains what signals would tell you whether the drift was expected, like a plan change still rolling out, or a real problem, like unauthorized access or a failed automation step. If you can answer that question clearly for Jenkins Pipeline as code, you're already ahead of most candidates in the room. Getting started the right way matters more than most engineers realize. Before you touch any configuration, understand your requirements, version control everything, apply least privilege, keep changes small and incremental, and always have a rollback plan ready before you deploy to production. Here's a simple checklist I want you to actually use. 1. Write down what you're trying to achieve in one sentence before you open your terminal. 2. Put your configuration in Git before you apply anything to a real environment. 3. Test in a throwaway or staging environment first, even a tiny scaled-down version of production. 4. Know exactly how you'd undo the change before you make it. 5. Make the smallest change that proves the concept works, then build from there. Engineers who skip straight to step 5 without the first 4 almost always end up debugging something they don't fully understand, under time pressure, which is the worst possible way to learn Jenkins Pipeline as code. Best practices from senior engineers are straightforward, but often overlooked. Automate the repetitive work. Document your decisions, not just your configurations. Test in staging before production. Monitor everything. And when something breaks, and it will, write a postmortem and learn from it. One of the most effective habits with Jenkins Pipeline as code is to always ask, can I undo this in under a minute? If the answer is no, you need a better rollback plan. I also recommend setting up a dedicated runbooks repository with step-by-step recovery procedures for Jenkins Pipeline as code specifically, so nobody has to reconstruct the fix from memory during an outage. One habit that separates senior engineers from everyone else: they document the why, not just the what. Anyone can look at a configuration and see what it does. Far fewer teams write down why a particular decision was made, what alternatives were considered, and what trade-offs were accepted with Jenkins Pipeline as code. 6 months later, when someone wants to change that configuration, that context is the difference between a confident change and a nervous one. I strongly recommend a short comment or linked doc next to any non-obvious decision explaining the reasoning behind it. There's also a quieter mistake worth naming here: engineers who understand Jenkins Pipeline as code technically but never learn to explain it to non-technical stakeholders. You will, at some point, need to justify a Jenkins Pipeline as code investment to a manager or a product lead who doesn't care about reconciliation loops. They care about fewer outages, faster releases, and lower costs. Practice translating what you build with Jenkins Pipeline as code into those terms. We reduced deployment failures by automating configuration drift detection lands with leadership in a way that we implemented a reconciliation loop never will, even though they're describing the same work. Senior engineers also treat monitoring as part of the deliverable, not an afterthought. If you build something with Jenkins Pipeline as code and it doesn't emit metrics, logs, or traces, it isn't done yet, even if it technically works. The same goes for alerting. A senior engineer doesn't just want to know something broke, they want to know it broke before a customer notices, and they want the alert to point clearly at the likely cause instead of just saying something is wrong somewhere. Now let's disrupt that comfort a little, because here's where most junior engineers get Jenkins Pipeline as code wrong. They skip the planning phase and dive straight into configuration. They leave sensitive credentials in plain text instead of using a secrets manager. They log everything to standard output without a structured format, which turns troubleshooting Jenkins Pipeline as code into a nightmare. They treat Jenkins Pipeline as code as a one-time setup instead of an ongoing practice, so 6 months later, when the team has grown, nobody owns updating it. And they copy a configuration from a blog post without adapting it to their own environment. If you can't explain every line of a Jenkins Pipeline as code config before applying it to production, slow down and understand it first. That single habit will save you from more incidents than almost anything else on this list. A more subtle mistake I see, even from engineers with a couple of years of experience, is treating Jenkins Pipeline as code as something you set up once and never revisit. Requirements change, the team grows, and the original setup doesn't scale, but nobody owns updating it. Put a recurring reminder on your calendar, monthly or quarterly, to revisit any Jenkins Pipeline as code setup and ask whether it still fits how the team actually works today. It's a small habit that quietly separates engineers who get promoted from engineers who plateau. Let's get hands-on. Open up your terminal and follow along. Even if you don't have the full environment set up yet, just watching this will give you the mental model you need. We start by defining our desired state, the blueprint of what your system should look like, written as code, kept deliberately small on the first pass so you can prove the basic idea works end to end. Write it down before you touch anything live. Once that's defined, the the reconciliation loop takes over. It continuously checks whether the actual state matches your desired state, and if someone makes a manual change directly against production, Jenkins Pipeline as code detects the drift on the next pass and either alerts you or corrects it automatically. Imagine someone bypasses your defined configuration and makes a manual change directly in production under pressure. A well-implemented Jenkins pipeline as code setup catches the drift on the very next reconciliation pass, either flagging it for review or correcting it outright, depending on how you've configured it. From there, add one piece of complexity at a time, get the simple version working, confirm it behaves as expected, then layer in the next requirement, whether that's scaling, security policies, or integration with another system. Engineers who try to build the fully complete version on their first attempt almost always get stuck debugging multiple unknowns at once. Building incrementally means that when something breaks, you know exactly which change caused it, instead of staring at a wall of moving parts trying to guess. Let me walk through a realistic scenario so this isn't abstract. Say you're rolling Jenkins pipeline as code out to a team of 5 engineers for the first time. You don't hand them a fully loaded production configuration on day 1. You start with a shared sandbox, get everyone comfortable defining desired state for something low stakes, and let them watch the reconciliation loop correct a deliberate mistake so they trust the system instead of fearing it. Only after that do you introduce the real production configuration, and even then, you introduce it behind a review process, not as a solo change any one person can push straight to production. That staged rollout is exactly what separates teams that adopt Jenkins pipeline as code smoothly from teams that adopt it, get burned by a bad first experience, and quietly go back to doing things manually. Testing deserves its own moment here too. It's tempting to treat Jenkins pipeline as code configurations as just config, not real code that needs real testing. That's a mistake. Treat your Jenkins pipeline as code definitions the same way you treat application code. Write small, focused tests that validate the behavior you expect, run them automatically on every change, and block merges that fail them. This catches an entire category of production incidents before they ever leave a pull request, and it gives new team members a safe way to learn the system by reading the tests instead of reading production logs after something breaks. As your team grows, Jenkins pipeline as code has to scale with more than just infrastructure, it has to scale with more people touching the same systems. What works for a team of 2 doesn't automatically work for a team of 20. Early on, one person can hold the whole Jenkins pipeline as code setup in their head. Once you cross a handful of engineers, that stops being true, and the teams that struggle are almost always the ones that never built a shared source of truth. The teams that scale smoothly are the ones that treated documentation, code review, and clear ownership boundaries as part of the Jenkins pipeline as code implementation from day 1, not as paperwork to get to later. If you're a junior engineer joining a team that already has Jenkins pipeline as code in place, the fastest way to build trust is to ask where that shared source of truth lives, read it end to end, and ask specific questions about the decisions you don't understand instead of guessing. On top of that, add monitoring. Tools like Prometheus and Grafana give you dashboards for latency, traffic, errors, and saturation, the 4 golden signals. If you can only instrument 4 things, instrument those, because together they tell you almost everything you need to know about system health. Set alerts so you know immediately when something goes wrong, and with a well-implemented Jenkins pipeline as code setup, the system often heals itself before you even wake up. Don't stop at dashboards, either build runbooks alongside them, so that when an alert fires at 2 a.m., whoever's on call has a clear, tested procedure to follow instead of improvising under pressure. In the US, regulatory frameworks like SOC2, HIPAA, and PCI DSS require complete visibility and control over your infrastructure, and Jenkins pipeline as code done right makes that a natural side effect instead of a scramble. If access controls and audit logging are part of your initial design, passing an audit later becomes a matter of producing evidence you already have, instead of retrofitting controls onto a system that was never designed with them in mind. That's the difference between compliance as a burden and compliance as a natural side effect of doing things right. Always follow least privilege by default, and run regular image and runtime scanning with tools like Trivy or SNYK directly in your CI pipeline, so vulnerabilities get caught before they ship, not after an audit finds them. And here's where it pays off financially: cloud bills spiral out of control without discipline. Set resource limits, schedule non-production environments to shut down overnight, use spot or preemptible instances for fault-tolerant workloads, and let autoscaling do the rest. A quick, practical tip: audit your non-production environments first. Dev and staging environments running 24/7 when nobody's using them outside business hours are one of the easiest wins in cost optimization, and a scheduled shutdown script or autoscaling policy that scales non-prod to zero overnight can pay for itself within the first month. These steps alone can cut cloud spend by 30 to 50%, and I've seen companies waste tens of thousands of dollars simply because nobody ever set resource requests in the first place. I recall a team at a healthcare SaaS platform that got Jenkins Pipeline as code right and reduced their mean time to recovery by 80%, while an enterprise software vendor cut their cloud bill by 40% doing the exact same thing. Let's actually unpack how that kind of result happens, because reduced MTTR by 80% can sound like a marketing line if you don't see the mechanics behind it. Before adopting Jenkins Pipeline as code properly, that team at a healthcare SaaS platform was resolving incidents through a mix of tribal knowledge and manual intervention, a small group of senior engineers who happened to remember how things fit together. Every incident depended on whoever was awake and available. After they invested in Jenkins Pipeline as code, with clear desired state definitions, automated reconciliation, and monitoring tied to real alerts, any on-call engineer could look at a dashboard, see exactly what had drifted from the desired state, and either let the system self-correct or apply a known, tested fix. The 80% number wasn't magic, it was the direct result of turning tribal knowledge into a system that anyone on the team could operate confidently. And whether you're on AWS, Azure, or GCP, the underlying principles of Jenkins Pipeline as code stay identical, only the syntax changes. If you're running on premises, tools like OpenStack or VMware integrate similarly, though the patterns remain identical. Understanding that abstraction layer is what makes you valuable across companies. Interviewers want to know you understand why Jenkins Pipeline as code works the way it does, not just that you memorized one flavor of it, so that when their company uses a slightly different setup, you can adapt quickly instead of starting from zero. Let's also talk about how this holds up under real traffic, not just a clean demo. A configuration that works fine at low volume can behave very differently once real production traffic hits it, connection limits get exhausted, retries pile up faster than they drain, and small delays in the reconciliation loop start to matter. Before you trust any Jenkins Pipeline as code setup with production traffic, load test it deliberately, watch how it behaves as load increases, and confirm your alerting actually fires before things degrade for end users, not after. That single practice, testing under realistic load before you need to trust it in an emergency, is one of the clearest signals of a senior engineer versus someone who only ever tested the happy path. Instead of an ongoing practice, and copying configurations you don't fully understand. Get hands-on and rebuild the simplest version of what we covered today in a sandbox environment. That repetition is what turns "I watched a video about this" into "I actually know how this works," and that difference is exactly what interviewers and senior engineers can tell apart in about 30 seconds of conversation. Before you go, here's your action item for today. Don't just close this video and move on. Open a sandbox environment, even a small local one, and rebuild the simplest possible version of what we walked through with Jenkins Pipeline as code. Hands-on repetition, not passive watching, is what actually moves the needle in interviews and in production. Give yourself permission to make mistakes in that sandbox, that's exactly what it's for. Let's do a quick recap of the 5 things I want you to walk away with. 1. The mental model. Jenkins Pipeline as code is about declaring desired state and letting a reconciliation loop maintain it, not issuing one-off commands and hoping they hold. 2. Getting started the right way. Requirements first, version control everything, least privilege, small changes, and a rollback plan before you ever touch production. 3. The mistakes that quietly cost people interviews and incidents. Skipping planning, exposed credentials, treating Jenkins Pipeline as code as a one-time task, and copying configs you don't understand. 4. The hands-on habits. Desired state defined as code, reconciliation doing the heavy lifting, monitoring built in from day one, and testing your Jenkins Pipeline as code definitions like real code. And 5. The business side. Security and compliance as a natural side effect of good design, and cost optimization that can realistically save your team 30 to 50% on cloud spend. Master those 5 things with Jenkins Pipeline as code, and you're not just watching tutorials anymore, you're operating at the level companies are actively paying for. The community around Jenkins Pipeline as code is one of the most active in tech. Dedicated Slack workspaces, Discord servers, local meetups, and conferences like KubeCon, re:Invent, and HashiConf. The DevOps community in the US is incredibly welcoming and always willing to help newcomers. Don't be afraid to ask questions there. Even senior engineers rely on the community to solve tricky problems, and some of the best solutions I've ever found for Jenkins Pipeline as code came from a comment on a community forum, not official documentation. Join a few groups and start